Not everything that feels spiritual is healthy. You got to ask yourself, does this draw me closer to truth? Does this align with who I want to become? Does this truly align with my concept of who I think God is? And then for older generations, don't panic when Gen Z explores. Don't panic when they start asking you some questions, and maybe even questions that you might not necessarily know because they just kind of process differently than we do. Help them discern instead of shutting them down. Gen Z spirituality and the systems that don't see you yet. Hey, Gen Z, some people keep saying that you don't care about faith, church, or God, but here's what I see. I see that Gen Zers care deeply. You're more spiritually open than most generations before you. But the problem isn't you. It's the systems you inherited that don't always know how to hold your questions, your honesty, and your desire for something. Hi, I'm Lem. I'm a Gen Xer. I've spent 20 years coaching, teaching, pastoring, and walking with people to try to figure out who they are and why they matter. And I want to speak to you and to the people who shape the spaces you grow in, because right now there's this gap between the spiritual hunger that I see in you and the systems that sometimes try to fit you into an old mold. You don't want a spiritual life that's just inherited. You want something you've wrestled with, something you've tested, something that you've made your own. In the next couple of moments, I want to share 6 truths about spiritual openness and how to pursue it well. So, number 1, you're not less spiritual, you're more spiritually curious. Many of you are exploring faith, but you're doing it differently. You want to know, is this true? Is it good? Does it make sense with the world that I see? That's not doubt for the sake of doubt. It's honest faith formation. And so what do you do about it? You keep asking, you keep learning, you find spaces where you can ask and learn and feel the safety to be yourself and ask these questions. Find people who give you space to question, not just demand your agreement. And for the older generation, stop seeing questions as disrespect. Stop seeing these questions as a challenge to your authority or whatever it is that you believe. See them as signs of a faith being built, not borrowed. Number 2, you want guides, not gatekeepers. You crave mentors who sit with you in the tension, not just push you past it. You're not looking for perfection. You're looking for people who are real, present, and safe. You're looking for authentic conversations, people to share their stories, their struggles, and what it is that they process through. So what do? You find leaders who live what they teach. Look for mentors. Look for the people that you trust, people that, hey, I want to become more like them, and ask them the questions. Be around them. Get their mentoring and see how they model this life for you. And the older generations, if you want to reach Gen Z, stop controlling access to God. Like somehow you got it all figured out, you know? Be a guide. Ask more questions than you give answers to. Listen more than you lecture. Be in relationships with them, and let's work this out together. That's what discipleship is. Number 3, you live in a world of unlimited access, but you need discernment. So Gen Zers, you can Google anything about religion at any time. You have it available on your phone. You're cross-pollinating ideas from Buddhism, deconstruction, ancient Christian practices, TikTok tarot readings, and trauma therapy all at once. And that's not shallow. It's what access does, because you have access to all of these things and you're trying to put it all together. It can be overwhelming. So what do? You develop filters. You talk to mentors. You find ways to discern, well, is this true? Is this right? Not everything that feels spiritual is healthy. You got to ask yourself, does this draw me closer to truth? Does this align with who I want to become? Does this truly align with my concept of who I think God is? And then for older generations, don't panic when Gen Z explores. Don't panic when they start asking you some questions. And maybe even questions that you might not necessarily know because they just kind of process differently than we do. Help them discern instead of shutting them down. Number four, you see diversity as non negotiable. This is for the Gen Zer. Faith spaces that ignore race, gender, neurodiversity, and mental health feel fake to you. If diversity isn't part of what it is that they're talking about, then it's very close minded, right? You want to see all of who you are welcome, not just the spiritual parts that fit in the pews. And there's a lot of spaces where diversity really isn't a thing. Like this is who we are and this is what we do. Now, Gen Zers, what do you do about that? You keep showing up as your whole self. You keep trying. You live this diversity thing. It's just a part of your world. It's not like an add on like some of us in our generation have to process. We process it like it's this other thing that we got to do, but you guys just live this as part of your reality. And if a community doesn't make room for that, find or build one that totally does. You can do that these days. And then for you older generations, diversity isn't a trend for Gen Z. It's their reality. It's what they live out. Your churches, your ministries, and your schools should look like heaven. Every tribe, every tongue, every people, every nation. I mean, it's very much the kingdom of God. So part of the work is for us to understand that diversity isn't a trend. It's the reality. Number five, you long for belonging before belief. You want to feel safe enough to wrestle before you sign a statement of faith. You value authenticity over appearances. I would say that Gen Zers want to belong, then believe, and then behave. And the older generations, like I think for us, it's believe, behave, and then you belong. And so there's a huge philosophical difference there. And we got to work together to find commonality so that we can belong before belief. So Gen Zers, what do? You seek out communities that invite you to belong, even when you're not sure what you believe yet. Like those are safe communities for you to question. Those are environments where you can test out things. You can try identity things and do identity experiments. And you can process through what is it that I truly believe. Find those spaces that allow you to do that. And then the older generations, remember, Jesus dwelt among us before we ever said yes to him. You know, it reminds me of John 1, where it says, the word became flesh. Jesus became flesh and dwelt among men and women. And he dwelt among us so that he might model for us grace and truth, not just truth. Proximity and belonging, it comes before persuasion. There's the last thing. Number six, you need space to rest, not just perform. You're not spiritually apathetic. You're spiritually saturated. You're exhausted by hustle culture, productivity gospel, and leaders who push you to always do more. So, Gen Zers, what do? Learn what rest and silence looks like for you. Rediscover practices that nourish your soul, that get you back connected to who you are. Sabbath, nature, creativity, embodiment. He leads me beside the still waters, and then he restores my soul, says Psalm. Older generations, stop measuring Gen Z's faith by how busy they are at church. Stop measuring Gen Z's faith by your standards, by the things that you do. Help them to slow down and hear God's voice again. Psalm 46:10. Be still and know that I am God. Gen Z, I see you. I see that you're spiritually alive. I see that you're hungry for meaning, purpose, and a faith that can handle real life. But don't let the systems convince you that your questions, your diversity, and your open heart and your openness to things are problems. Keep seeking, keep wrestling, keep becoming. And then most importantly, Matthew 6:33, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. And then all of these things shall be added unto you. Now, for those of us who lead, may we build spaces that hold this generation with curiosity, compassion, and courage. Now, if this resonates with you, send this to a friend who feels misunderstood spiritually. Drop a comment, drop a question. What do you wish older generations understood about your spiritual journey? And if you want more tools for identity and faith in this digital, diverse, complex world, please hit subscribe and let's do this together. Until next time, thanks for checking it out.